welcome to Daily Planet Goes to India. We're in Mumbai, in front of the gateway to India. I'm Jay Ingram.
And I'm Kim Jagtiani. It's just fabulous to be here on the show. Thank you for inviting me on,
You're
Jay.
very welcome.
I'm really looking forward to our week in India. This is the country that I was born in, and also the place I've called home for the last 7 or 8 years.
But between the two, you lived in Canada, right?
Absolutely, eh? I grew up in a little city called Oshawa on the outskirts of Toronto, but I decided to come back to my roots. I began my career as a VJ with Channel V and then moved on to an adventure and travel show called Exotica.
Well, I think adventure and exotica and science are all going to be wrapped up this week on Daily Planet Goes to India.
I think so, too. In fact, I hope our viewers can get a new glimpse into India. She is one of the world's older civilizations. And now that India is on the cusp of change, we'll show you how she's using science to meet the 21st century.
And coming up today on Daily Planet Goes to India, traffic nightmares turn to engineers' dreams. We'll check out Mumbai's futuristic sea lake.
And we'll see how scientists are trying to save the artwork in 2,000-year-old caves.
And lights, camera, action. We're going to check out Bollywood, the world's biggest film industry.
Right now we're in Mumbai, also lovingly known as Bombay on India's west coast. This is the country's largest city with a population of 15 million people officially and 20 million unofficially.
Well, that difference would make the biggest Canadian city.
That's true, Jay. Behind us is the Gateway of India, the city's most famous monument. It was built to commemorate the coronation of King George V and Queen Mary as the Emperor and Empress of India. This is also the very spot the last British troops left from when India first gained her independence in 1947.
Now, when the Gateway to India was finished in 1924, Mumbai was a very different city. For one thing, there were no 20 million people here, nor was there the traffic that many people bring. Driving around Mumbai these days can be an absolute traffic nightmare. So what do you do when you run out of roads? Well, you do what those last British troops did. Some engineers are heading out to sea. Mumbai traffic. 1 minute you're moving along, the next you're seeing red, brake lights, congestion. And here's why. Everyone heading into town crams onto this narrow finger of land, a classic bottleneck. So they're building a bypass. And there it is, in the sea. Imagine zipping along and coming to a cable-stay bridge. Then you'd travel a much larger one. It's longer than 6 football fields and towers 43 stories high. And before you know it, your trip is 30 minutes shorter than it used to be. Here's why. This elevated expressway has 4 lanes going each way for all 6 kilometers. They're building this part now to get around the bottleneck. And they want to build this part right into the central business district. You'll pay a fee to use it. But if you're a frustrated driver, you just want to know, when can I start paying? That day approaches one piece of concrete at a time. It's not easy hoisting 150 tons. So incense and flowers are offered up. The men are at the ready. Watching is planning manager Santosh Rai. The crane cables tighten, and we have liftoff. The segments don't all go up like this. Some are brought by special truck. All 32 wheels have independent suspensions to cushion the shock. A launcher grabs the segments. They dangle in the air until it's time to assemble a whole span. After they check the fit, they slather the ends with epoxy and then join the pieces. They then insert steel rods and string thick wires between the segments. To understand how that keeps the segments together, imagine holding a stack of books.
You would always can carry them without any problem because of the gravity. They're always sitting on each other. But the moment I ask you to turn it horizontal, you would like to press some force onto this. And this force is basically what we exert through our post-tensioning system.
Eventually, this site will have 9 machines, all lifting segments into place at the same time.
These mammoths would require a feeding of 300 segments in a month. That means almost 10 segments per day.
Here's where they make those segments. First, they weld together a form. Then they fill it with a maze of steel bars. Cement comes next. When wet, it generates a lot of heat, so they cool it with chilled water and shade it with a roof.
This is basically done to reduce the surface cracks which can appear onto a concrete due to its inherent heat generating capacity.
It's very special cement which was designed in Canada by the Ministry of Natural Resources. It contains microsilica and fly ash. In a slump test, it easily measures up on consistency. But more important, it passes the test of the sea.
Being very fine granules, seals all the theoretical possible pores into the concrete and does not allow the moisture to go inside.
The lower foundations may go as deep as 10 stories into the bedrock beneath the sea, but the upper reaches stay very wet. Consider this, the site of the big bridge. Exposed to water are more than 50 concrete piles and a massive pile head the size of half a football field. They support the weight of colossal concrete towers, and what sits on those towers? 260 cables. These heavy cables hold the weight of the entire bridge. Inside each cable are up to 160 individual steel wires. Each of them is as thick as a pencil and very strong.
Can hang a full-grown elephant onto it without breaking.
Each strand is corrosion-proof, galvanized, and coated with polyethylene. Once in a bundle, wax is poured in between, and then there's a final waterproof sheath. In addition to the sea, they also need to cope with a wet season. The monsoon is so bad it often stops work. They make up for that when they can by carrying on through the night. Dawn brings a shift change. It's quite a flurry of men and machines. Going out today is a giant form for pouring concrete. This tiny port launches dozens of ships a day, carrying cargoes of every kind. This rush seems fitting for Mumbai. It's India's fastest growing city, a city that's in a hurry to get to the future, a city that'll use the sea link to get there.